I felt extremely awkward and out of place as I sat there in the 4-H hall, looking around, looking at the hundreds of other people who were there with me, all to learn about homesteading. And I felt like the guy on stage was talking about the opposite of homesteading.
Security isn't something you've really been thinking about. You just bought some guns, ammo, and you got a country boy attitude. I'm like, that's not a course of action. You don't know what's coming. So if you don't have just the smallest semblance of enemy tactics, you just don't have a chance. You see that, right? To be able to really repel and be ready to fight a criminal, you must be able to think like them. You're gonna have to have some sophistication in dark days ahead if you plan to keep your family safe and keep your stuff. The solution, guys, is three-part. Number one is you have a community of trained defenders, and I want to put special emphasis on the word trained. We understand we're only as strong as our weakest link. So everyone's got to really be on board with security. It is our most important prep because security is the thing that allows you to keep all of your resources and people safe. Without security, you're screwed. It is telling that our founders of the United States, they gave you the First Amendment that had all the good stuff, right, to freedom. And then they gave you the Second Amendment so that you could keep it all. Without arms, you can't possibly keep your freedom. Two, you need hardened physical defenses. That means I need your property to start being more physically defensible. And then number three, you need guns, ammo, and equipment. If you have 3 guard positions with 1 guard per position, and there's 3 shifts, well, that's 9 people needed in a day for guard duty.
You know, quite honestly, I couldn't quite believe what I was hearing. You know, to me personally, homesteading and small-scale farming, a huge part of those things are all about community. And I feel like the words that I was hearing in that auditorium were the words of somebody getting ready to go to war.
Oh boy, sounds like the little social justice snowflake got triggered by hearing a man talk about his 2A rights.
Hey, Jimi Hendrix. Yeah, can I scratch your head?
Yeah, you like that.
Uh-oh. Our water trough is frozen up. It's about 24 degrees right now, and I'll leave this temperature measurement here for all of my friends in the rest of the world who use a very logical temperature system. You know, I'm the type of person who actually believes that the world needs more small farmers. And a big part of why I wanted to start this farm is to be a part of a community of folks who also believe that. Ever brush a Scottish Highland cow with your hands when you're wearing gloves? Get covered in fur. Abby dog, I think Ariel sheds more than you do, girl. You know, for me, when I hear the words of people talking about going to war or protecting what they have or being able to create a cell of families who are gonna come to your homestead and secure various points from any sort of attackers, that does not strike me personally as an abundance mindset. That sounds like the words of a group of people who are terrified by the world that they're living in, terrified of their neighbors, terrified of people who are different from them, terrified of people who might have needs, and what you're trying to do is protect what you and yours have got, versus asking the question of what can you do to help. And so as I sat there in that 4-H hall at this conference, which is a conference I've always loved going to, it's a conference where I get to spend a lot of time with my friends. Even the day before all of this happened, I actually got to shoot a video where I had people testing to see if they could tell the difference between a homestead egg and a factory farmed egg. But when I think about all the good vibes from the previous day, to sit in that room and listen to folks talk about things like excluding people who have a religion different than yours.
And you need to really rally around a Christian ethic for your community to work, but you all have to be on the same page, right? Everyone in my community is going to be a Christian.
I find something like that quite disturbing.
Give it to a Jewish kid who went to a Catholic school who grew up to be an atheist to be the one person in the room who's uncomfortable with the idea of Christian nationalism.
But I'll also admit that I was probably a bit naive to be surprised by something like that. Because if I look at the state of the conversations happening in the world we're living right now, what I was seeing in that presentation kind of tracks.
Could the US have another civil war?
A second civil war. That's a phrase that should frighten you.
We are closer to civil war than any of us would like to believe.
Is open, bloody, violent civil war.
You have people very deeply divided. They have literally live in 2 different realities.
Yes, Team Green or Team Black. Some of you guys might think I'm leaning Team Green.
And even beyond the news headlines, I feel like in YouTube and other platforms of social media, I'm seeing a similar pattern start to emerge.
We are 9 meals away
from anarchy.
Prepare for possible World War III, depression.
So don't think this isn't going to happen.
10 things that you need to be stockpiling now before it's too late.
Stop telling people what your preps are.
Probably in the next few months, we'll start seeing even more shortages and problems at the grocery store.
The horrible thing might actually be happening.
Can't bury your head in the sand, right?
And they are going to choke you out.
There's a lot of strange things going on right now.
They can make you have a little fear, then they can control you.
You got to keep your head in the game and you got to keep connecting these dots, right?
What if we found ourselves under the thumb of savage tyrants?
Control the food, control the people.
Should we be worried that we're on some kind of watch list?
All you're doing is making yourself a target.
So they're going to make the dollar obsolete.
There's shortages on feed, fertilizer, the whole food chain is feeling the effect.
They don't like your pets. They say, no pets for you, and they take it away or they take your money away from you.
And whether it's a world war or a famine or shortages, whatever, we think it's upon us.
Of course, it's not too late to start prepping. You can still buy stuff from Walmart, can't you?
Food processing plants burning down all over our country, right?
There seems to be an increase in violence and problems in our modern times.
Why is Pope Francis trying to move all the money suddenly?
Because they're putting these systems in place while they're distracting you all over the place.
Stop showing your preps.
Well, you need to have emergency food supplies. Is with My Patriot Supply. We have an affiliate agreement with them. So
rather than doing 2 buckets at a time, I'd rather do 200 buckets at a time.
You take these buckets, and these buckets have the poop and the pee. Just kind of knocking out some of the leftover residue.
You know, it's a lot of people making a lot of videos, getting a lot of other people really scared and worked up. And at the risk of sounding extremely cynical, I'm not sure how much of it is authentic. You know, given what I do with our farm's videos on social media, I consider myself somewhat of a connoisseur of algorithms. And it is 100% a fact that scary stuff plays well, and scary stuff will get people to click.
Listen to Goldshaw Farm, the master of clickbait, criticizing other YouTubers for doing the exact same thing he does. Sounds like to me somebody's trying to stir up some drama here on the YouTubes by starting a feud. What's the matter, soft boy? Getting bored of starting fights with dog breeders and hound hunters? Gotta go for somebody else?
I've been thinking about this topic now for a couple of months, and I really didn't even want to make this video. But what I saw at that conference down in Virginia, as well as some of the conversations I had with folks, really got me to the point where I felt like I did need to ultimately make some sort of statement on this topic, because I see it as a growing and overwhelmingly negative force in the world. And so I'm choosing to use my platform to speak on it. But yeah, I know it's gonna bring the drama. You know, I personally find a tremendous amount of irony in the fact that a movement such as homesteading,
which so frequently portrays itself as being about freedom, can so easily paint a picture of freedom looking like a compound with armed guards around it. I guess Chris Christopherson was wrong. Freedom is not just another word for nothing left to lose. It's all about protecting your stuff from people who might be in need of stuff.
Well, is that an invitation for everybody to come to your farm? Last I checked, you were trying to chase off legal hunters and adoring fans who wanted to visit you. Are you ready to start the commune now, you darn hippie?
Now let's not get this one twisted. I am by no means a socialist. In fact, I would consider myself a proud capitalist. But my point is that if folks put as much energy as they do into protecting their stuff and security and all of this getting ready to fight the next Civil War malarkey, and they spent their time working on helping others and educating others and finding opportunities for mutual aid and finding opportunities to provide for others, the world would be a much better place. You know, after I heard that talk the other day, I actually was having some conversations with some homesteading friends, and we were all commenting on the fact that if somebody has an abundance mindset, they're not going to be so focused on protecting themselves from a world of scarcity. And for those of you out there who are saying, well, I worked hard for my stuff and I need to protect it, and my number one priority is to ensure the safety of me and my family, I'm actually not saying that you shouldn't be focused on those things. But what I am saying is have some empathy. Remember that not everybody has the same advantages as you, and there's nothing wrong with having advantages, and there's nothing wrong with using those advantages. And just remember that not everybody can afford to go buy a farm in the middle of nowhere and go bug out. You know, saying that focusing on self-sufficiency is something that everybody should do completely lacks empathy and understanding for where others might be coming from. Which is why I feel like certain things like community are so important. And I know that there's gonna be some chuckleheads in the comments of this video saying that, oh wow, listen to this grasshopper preach to the ants. But this isn't about not being prepared and not getting yourself ready and not having supplies on hand or not doing certain things to ensure that if something bad happens, you're ready for it. I 100% believe you should be doing those things. But what I am doing is recommending that we all focus on 3 things specifically. Number 1 is to take that energy that you're putting towards being afraid of the world and having plans for defending your bunker and turn that energy towards community and connecting with others and helping others. And then number 2 is do not get swept up in the fear. Know that there's an entire genre of homesteading content that's out there that's designed to scare you and get you worked up. And that right there is their business model. And then number 3 is remember that the world is not nearly as scary a place as it might feel sometimes. Yes, there are bad things out there. Yes, things can be awful at times, but I also believe in the inherent goodness of humans and that we can work together to make this world a better place. And so try to embrace that and try to take steps to leave the world in a slightly better place than you found it. Thanks for watching this video, everybody.